missing someone. And I drive around, don't fill it up. Why it's getting colder when the sun comes out.
Yellow and yellow? Is this a story time? Yes, it is. Sorry it took so long. This story is about toxic friends. It happened my sophomore year of college. I've basically been friends with the same group of people since freshman year, give or take some people who have transferred or like stopped being our friends, etc. But it's basically been the same core group of 8 people. Then sophomore year comes around and this new girl transfers to our school and gets integrated into our friend group. My friends and I, we kind of just make fun of each other all the time. It's not that serious. Like, we don't actually hate each other, but we act like we hate each other. And this girl was similar. Like, she had a similar sense of humor, so we were like, all for it. Yeah, cool. Come hang out with us. And everything was fine for a while until like halfway through the year. Things started changing. The girl that had transferred to our school kind of like attached herself to this other girl that was in our friend group since freshman year. And they legitimately became inseparable. And the girl she attached herself on was actually my roommate. I post all the parts of my stories in a row, so part 2 coming right now. Toxic Friend Story Time Part 2. So the girl transferred and had attached herself to my roommate. I lived in a quad, so the 2 other girls lived with us as well. And I won't lie, I was probably the least close to my roommate. Here's where it gets juicy. This is Luke, he's one of my best friends. He is where the drama starts. Now don't get me wrong, I love him very much. But back then, he was kind of going through a phase of just being a dingbat. He and my roommate were like besties since like freshman year. And he was not being the greatest friend at that time. He was going through stuff, so it was kind of understandable, but like, you get the point. So my roommate, who literally is the least confrontational person I've ever met in my life, like can't even make eye contact with you if she disagrees with you. Super passive. Honestly, it was really annoying. Instead of talking to Luke directly about like, hey, you're not being a really good friend, like you're hurting my feelings, she just complained to the girl who had transferred to our school. Because they're besties now. I'm gonna post part 3 right now. Storytime about toxic friends part 3. So instead of talking to him directly to resolve the issue, she just complained about him to this new girl. In my personal opinion, I think they were probably bashing him behind closed doors for a while. I can kind of understand why my roommate was all ticked off, but this girl who just transferred had absolutely no business being as offended as she was. It was between Luke and my roommate, and it should not have involved anyone else. So time goes on, tension is building, they start hanging out with us less and less, until it's finals week of the first semester of sophomore year. Apparently, my roommate had set up a mediation with Luke through his roommate to talk to him. The rest of us in the friend group were like, oh my god, finally, like you're gonna talk and resolve it. And they had a talk, and according to Luke, apparently everything was like kind of resolved. Like they weren't gonna be best friends again, but like they were cool now. And we had a huge lab final the next day because we were in the same class. And so I was just like glad that it got over with before finals so that he could concentrate. But that is not what happened. Oh, at all. Posting part 4 right now. Storytime about toxic friends, part 4. So we had a really important final the next day. Everything seemed like it was resolved. And then I get a text like at 1 a.m. from Luke. Of course I'm awake because who needs sleep? And he texted me, he's like, dude, this girl and your roommate are coming over to my room. They're in my apartment. Now our apartments, fortunately, were literally across the hall from each other, like not even 10 feet away. So I was like, do you need me to come over there? I will come over there. And he's like, no, like I don't want to make a big deal out of it. And I was like, I'll come over there, I'll do it. And he's like, no, like it's fine. So they come into his room while he's studying for our final. My roommate had already talked to him about her business and it seemed like it was fine. And the girl who had transferred in just laid into him out of nowhere, saying all kinds of crap she had no right to be saying. In the middle of the night, right before an important final, which they knew that he had because we talked about it. We talked about it a lot that we had this final. Posting part 5 right now. Story about toxic friends, part 5. So the night before final,